Hello and welcome to Audio Gyan, an Indian podcast for those interested in design, philosophy and arts. Audio Gyan documents thoughts, ideas and insights from known and unknown gems of India who have done some remarkable work in their field of interest. Visit audiogyan.com for more Gyan sessions. Today I have Vikram Gahlot with us on Audio Gyan. He's a teacher, thinker and a philosopher and a very good friend. He started his career in Webchutney, where he was heading the search engine marketing vertical and is a number geek. But then soon he realized that his passion is teaching. So now he teaches at MBAguru and imparts gyan to all the people who are aspiring MBA students, IITs and IIMs of the world. Thank you, Vikram, for giving us your time and welcome to Audio Gyan.
Thanks, Kedar. It's a great experience to be here with you on Audio Gyan. I've already been listening to the podcast, so to be doing this together with you is awesome today.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. In fact, this podcast is like typically Audio Gyan has the format of question answers, but I think with you it will be more of a collaboration where we will be discussing more more about education system and what goes into it and different aspects of education and learning with you since you are in this field. And also we have been discussing offline a lot of things about education, how the system needs to change or evolve. Or
of course, as soon as you said that, we are thinking about doing one on education.
Yeah.
I was like, man, we have to do this together.
Sure.
So I would also at the same time like to mention, so Kedar and my friendship goes back to Webchutney.
Yeah.
Which is where Kedar was into design and I was on the business side.
Mm-hmm.
So Kedar himself, I think, lays claim to some kind of expertise in design and has been training people has been an educator himself. So actually there are two teachers in this room right now.
Yeah. But yeah, like it's more like more formally you are a teacher and more than that, I think you are like your readings and your overall understanding about a lot of things is much more evolved, and I would like to discuss few topics which we'll go on right now. So yeah, the first thing which we can talk about is obviously Guru-shishya parampara. Like I believe it's fundamentally a very classic way to learn things. So I would like to know your thoughts on how did it digress? Is it getting revived? Should it get revived? How can we borrow?
Probably before we go into your question, maybe we should define the whole Guru-shishya parampara concept for our listeners. Some might not come from India.
Yeah, sure.
But even those who do not come from India would already be very well aware of yoga, Ayurveda, and these very Indian traditional arts or knowledge systems. People are aware of of course, the word guru everyone is aware of.
Yeah.
So I think Guru-shishya parampara typically comes with the definition of, this master having disciples who are working with him in complete submission. This guy is a genius. And there's this relationship which is, the guru is supposed to be greater than God and all that, which is there. So yes, Guru-shishya parampara to begin with, if we go a little deeper into this, has it at all digressed? That is one question. Maybe it is still alive. That is another way to think of it.
Yeah. Camouflaged in some way or the other.
Of course. So ultimately, I will come to the view that the Guru-shishya parampara was alive. It is alive today and it will continue to be alive because it is the only way knowledge can be transferred.
Okay.
Ultimately, knowledge transfer is going to happen in that manner. Maybe certification can happen in another manner. Like your 10th class certificate.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But whenever you talk about knowledge transfer, I think Guru-shishya parampara is a word which stands for tradition. Shishya is student, right? And Guru is the teacher. So yes, probably India and other places in the East will also, for that matter, if you look at ancient times, even in the West. As a matter of fact, we were talking about this a few days ago, and we were talking about how old do you think is the formal education system in this world, right? The schools, colleges and universities that we have today, which come to mind when you talk about education. How old do you think this system is? Is it 10,000 years old? Is it 5,000 years old?
No, I think the formal education system would be around 100 to 200 years old.
Exactly, right? The whole public schooling system. So Noam Chomsky is a guy who makes some remarks which are so accurate that instead of paraphrasing him, it would be better if we read him aloud right now. But anyway, not going there right now. But the fact of the matter is that this whole system is 100 or 200, not even 200 years old, right? Now, are you saying that expertise has existed in this world only for the last 100 years?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Expertise has existed in this world for the last, all right, we have to go back to the beginning of time, right? But expertise has always existed. However, the formal education system has existed only for the last 100 years or so. Now there is this other myth, which is that of the Gurukul, which is that everyone in ancient India was going to a Gurukul. That is another myth.
Okay.
No, not everyone was going to a Gurukul for 20 years and studying all sorts of vidyas under an elite guru. No, that was not ancient India. Although I must say that my own grip on the history of ancient India is not that great. But this much I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So this was the king's son, India's king's son, the richest man in the world, his son. He was going to this Gurukul where he was learning, strategy, warfare, grammar, whatever. This whole gamut of subjects. And yeah, but the rest of them, how are they learning? I think ultimately it might be a controversial point here, but the caste system in India very closely mirrors the guild system of England. So in my view, I haven't even asked you if you agree, but if we conclude that there is something wrong with the education system as of today, what this education system is, let's go into that later.
Yeah, sure.
But what is wrong with this education system? There are many theories that are offered. Today we can systematically destroy each and every one of the popular theories. Is one thing that I would like to say. Purely based on these few years of teaching experience, I might be wrong. But in my view, where the whole thing has gone wrong is with the word student.
Okay.
As soon as the word student comes into the picture, this is bound to go wrong. You can pay a certain amount of money, buy a seat somewhere, be selected somewhere, buy the right to sit in a class, and buy the right to tell a teacher to teach you and to equip you in a certain manner which you want tailor-made. So listen, the teacher is supposed to be the expert in this picture. You can't be telling him what he should be doing with you.
Correct.
Of course, the broader framework is clear that you're studying mechanical engineering and not design. But then the teacher is the expert here, right? But this whole commercial model of education certainly tells you that you're a student, buy a seat, pay for it, sit there, and knowledge transfer will happen. This is where the concept is flawed, Kedar. I don't know if you sort of agree, and then maybe we could go deeper into it.
Yeah, sure. I think it is not completely wrong, but I think we have been trying to find a middle ground as to how this can happen. But yeah, there are definitely the flaws.
No, my problem with this is that knowledge transfer cannot happen if you sit in a place and expect a person to transfer it somehow to you by sitting in that place with the aid of some books written by other persons. This is how knowledge transfer never happened in the history of human beings. This is a phenomena that is just 100 years old, right?
Yeah.
Of course, in the last 100 years, everything in this world has changed. But, knowledge transfer was happening way before that. It is still happening today. But you have to replace the word student with another word.
And what could be that word?
Do you want to take a guess or do you want me to cut to it straight away?
Yeah, I think like from Guru-shishya, I think it could be shishya for that matter.
No, let's not even get into the Sanskrit of it because the whole episode will turn into something about Sanskrit, which is an episode we should do maybe another time.
Yeah, sure.
Because it is a fascinating, maybe we can make some references today. Let's see.
Yeah.
Because Sanskrit as a language will be fundamental to Oriental ideology in many ways. But anyway, Shishya nahi, I was looking for an English word and the word is apprentice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you further elaborate on that?
So actually, I'm sorry, Kedar, and I apologize to all listeners also because I'm jumping to a conclusion before proving it. But give me some time to prove it.
Sure.
But my hypothesis is that the word student is an incorrect word. You shouldn't be able to buy your way into a classroom, give some money, and then a bunch of professors will come and download knowledge, and then you'll be equipped to take on, I don't know, do some knowledge work or something like that. No. You will have to be an apprentice.
Okay.
So listen, first of all, I have a confession to make. You have called me a teacher already and some other very amazing adjectives as well. But a teacher also. But let me confess that in the world of teachers, I'm a little bit of a, how should we put it, somebody who exists in the shadows of teaching. I am not exactly in the most reputable section of the teaching profession because I work at a coaching institute. So some days ago, a student also told me that coaching में आप पैसा कमाते हो और प्रोफेसर बन के आप इज्जत कमाते हो. So which literally translates to, there's no fame or recognition that comes with coaching. You only make a lot of money, which I don't. Or maybe I do, but let's come to that later. No, I don't. And he said professors are the ones who earn fame and stuff like that. Because my successful students are ones who are supposed to go to interviews and say they have got no coaching for interviews. So that makes it a very interesting scene for me overall. You know, how knowledge gets transferred, what works. It's a chess game that I play against interviewers every year. The whole script is there and the whole game is going to happen within that. And the same thing happens in chess. So given that process, it has been very interesting to see these are selections that are happening for B schools or for entry-level jobs. So what are they asking in interviews? Where do the gaps in the education system lie? I have had some kind of a window into this question. But you know, if we are looking for conclusions right now, at the beginning, then one conclusion is that apprenticeship is what these people are missing. So one day I was in my class and my class has people from engineering backgrounds, commerce, economics, English, philosophy, you name it, life sciences, any subject, and I've got that subject in my classroom. And there were these mechanical engineers. So I asked them, are there any mechanical engineers in here? Bunch of people raised their hands. And then I asked them, I was like, there is this guy outside who has a little shop who repairs cars. And he's this uneducated fellow who learnt in garages. Can you repair those cars? Or can you, look at those problems the same way? A lot of people say this is something that is wrong with the Indian education system, that students are not good at practical stuff. Right, Kedar?
Yeah, absolutely.
We have all heard of it and we have said it. You have said it?
Yeah. I concur to what you're saying, that overall education
practical,
system has
there's
more
a problem.
Theory. Yeah, it has more theory and less practical.
More theory, right.
Yeah.
So I asked them, can you repair or can you even try and repair some of this? They said, no way. We can't even touch any of this stuff. And these guys are supposed to be from some of the best colleges in the country, in the city, whatever. Yeah. So I asked them, what is missing? And nobody had an answer. So we talked to this guy and we said, how did you learn? And he told me that he never, of course, he has not cleared 10th standard, which is high school in India, right? And this guy's uncle's friend had a garage where he had to first come and serve as the chai wala, the tea boy.
Correct.
And take tea around for everyone. He was never taught formally. He was, even if he was caught looking, he was sent away and asked, don't you have any tea to serve, or something like that happened. But he's gradually picked up stuff. Sometimes he was then given things to do, which he had to do really well, ABCD. Once he showed some good understanding of stuff, he was given questions. Once he responded to those questions or failed to, he was admonished. He was in the back room. He was a boy for a long time. But today he's a guy who puts cars together. Some magic happened.
Yeah.
And that is how I have seen knowledge transfer happen even in formal situations, if it happens accidentally. Because formal systems, knowledge transfer only happens accidentally. Otherwise, Nobel Prize winners are still working in Guru-shishya parampara, to answer your question. Do you think Nobel Prize winners are like taking batches of 60 students, and then their result, I don't know, will be published in a newspaper.
Yeah.
No, they have got funding for 10 years and they've got a bunch of 3 students. So in the Guru-shishya parampara, one thing was very clear. That a teacher is never going to have 5,000 students. I'm sorry, this is again going to be controversial, but you knew it that if you were going to do this. But Baba Ramdev is teaching yoga to 5 crore people, 10 crore people. Is supposed to be stupid. That is all right. I'm sorry if there are any Baba Ramdev admirers.
Listening to this podcast, yeah,
they can. They're free to.
Send a mail, probably. Just
send us a mail, and I'll apologize.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but you're not supposed to have 500,000 followers. That does not make a great teacher. That makes a bad teacher. The whole idea is that if there's something called knowledge, it is something that grows like a plant. It is not like a block of, like a cube that you take from one place and put in another slot. It is a plant that will have to be nurtured and then it will grow. So the better the guru, the more difficult it was to find a teacher.
Yeah.
That used to be Guru-shishya parampara, right?
Yeah. In fact, I really connect with this thought because I was trying to learn flute and my classical, like the teacher in Bangalore, he teaches in a Guru-shishya parampara style.
Music.
So so not more than 20 students in a year. In fact, like most of them drop out and like last 5 or 6 remain who continue for next 5 to 8 years. And sir, in fact, told me was that you don't even bother telling anybody that you're learning flute for the first 5 years because it will be mainly blowing and just trying your fingers getting around the holes within the flute. So I completely.
So you did a little bit of Zen and that Karate Kid wax on, wax off for some time. You did the hard yards.
Correct.
And then learned what it is about.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry, I have to confess, I can't confess to mastery of any art to that extent. You have been committed to design for a long time. But if I had to name any one field, it would be a problem. Like you have got design. But then you have, I think, done your hard yards in design also, which is a craft. So that is what I meant. Even today in this age of science and technology, at least crafts are one area where Guru-shishya parampara is the only way knowledge transfer still happens in America also and in India also. So that with design it is the same, with playing the flute it is the same. Actually, the error of our times is that we have gone wrong with science. We have gone wrong with technology. We have gone wrong with law. We've gone wrong with a bunch of other subjects actually. Because this whole because they became production oriented. Yeah, you need 10,000 engineers a year. So all of a sudden you are churning out widgets in a factory instead of nurturing a plant. As soon as that narrative changes, so it has a lot to do with the industrial revolution. And that is what I believe, that the downfall of the education system has to do with the downfall of the subject of history. That is one point I would like to emphasize in today's discussion, that history is a dead subject today, and it is a big reason why this world is in trouble, because we don't value humanities. There is clear research now that whatever quote unquote successful people and their backgrounds reveal that now all of them have one thing in common, or most of them have one thing in common, and the biggest thing in common is a degree, a major in liberal arts. So Steve Jobs is also big, not because he was like a computer geek, but because he was good at typography. I don't know, Steve Jobs, have you already discussed on the podcast sometimes?
Not much.
Not yet? Okay, so you need a whole episode for Steve Jobs. But typography is what he's famous for. So everyone, it turns out, is Steve Jobs brought art to the world of electronics. Think about it, how reverse this is. Is this the horse before the cart or the cart before the horse? Electronics mein art. Weird. Come on. And that's what these subjects need. Humanities have taken a backseat, but humanities never got corrupted. The kind of knowledge that existed within humanities and arts could never be transferred without a master and a student. It cannot happen by buying a seat and then passing exam and doing this job for the rest of your life. So first, let us draw a line between two areas. Kedar, I have two very important questions for you.
Okay.
Can I
Go
ask?
ahead. Yeah.
All right. The first question is, here is this guy who is really talented naturally as a manager. So really talented guy, really talented guy. You know this guy and he has all this natural talent, but he does not have an MBA degree. Do you think he has a reasonable chance of succeeding as a manager?
With the current startup generation and what is happening, at least in India, as per my understanding and exposure, I think he has got a good chance.
You know that there are enough examples of people without MBAs who are running businesses really successfully.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, if I asked you to name 5 entrepreneurs off the top of your head without thinking, which are the first 5 names you will give me, India or the world?
I don't know, 5 maybe, but
One.
obviously Steve Jobs is
Jobs
is like a dropout.
One.
Dhiru Ambani was,
Third name, any big name, let's say. Which is the biggest name in entrepreneurship?
I know, Richard Branson maybe.
Richard Branson, dyslexic guy, no degree, nothing. All right. So you know the cliche, it is true. That all of these guys who have made it, none of them had an MBA.
Correct.
Now, Kedar, will you trust such a brilliant, talented guy to run your business?
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, of course. We have to
historically
agree.
proven.
You can't disagree with that.
Yeah.
Now, Kedar, second question. Let us say there's this friend of mine who's naturally very talented as a surgeon. Naturally, he's very talented as a surgeon. He does operations. Or let's say it's his hobby. But he's not an MBBS. He's not an MD. He has never gone to medical school. But naturally, he's very talented at surgery. Would you like to go to him for your surgery? If God forbid ever you need to.
No, I don't.
No, you would
so.
not like to.
Yeah.
So there's this fundamental difference, as I said earlier. Some subjects, they have not been able to corrupt the production-oriented people of education. I'm sounding like a leftist or a communist here, which I'm often accused of being. Let's talk about that offline. Okay. Sure. I'm not one. But anyway, it's true that production-oriented systems are not meant for things like education, which are meant to do with nurturing a plant and letting it grow into a tree. You have to worry about sunlight, you have to worry about water.
Correct.
You have to worry about nutrients.
Climatic conditions,
You can't go about clipping leaves or painting leaves. So that can't happen in this, and you can't have batches of trees being produced. But this batch philosophy, was it there earlier? Yes, even state governments must have had requirements for armies, and people must have been conscripted for armies. Not necessarily they had planning talent or fighting talent or strategy talent. So we are not saying the past was all rosy and the present is all bad. Real craft existed yesterday also, and it exists today also. Real art existed yesterday also, and real art exists today also. But one problem that has happened, as I said earlier, humanities are increasingly taking a backseat. I mean this in the context of the middle class, which we are talking about, I think, right now, and most people who will be listening to this probably will also identify.
No, sorry, I would like to cut you here and slightly move on to the next question, because I got this and I can see the direction which you're heading towards is, and it's more towards understanding why then certain subjects, like as you mentioned, the production oriented subjects, or certain subjects are glorified while certain are not. Like for example, humanities is taking a bad seat. Why is this happening?
Why has humanities taken a back seat?
Or for that matter, any of these production oriented subjects have taken. So for give you an example, like every parent would want their child or daughter to son or daughter to be in IIM and finally sell shampoo, right?
Right.
So why is this
for this, Kedar, I'll have to take your permission to take a little bit of a tangent or a detour and come back to the question.
Sure, please.
Because I'm not even taking a tangent, actually I'm directly answering the question. But to answer this, we'll have to take a very long-term view of humanity to begin with. Then we can finally zoom in on our times and try to understand what is happening. But let me ask you, historically, if you look at the entire span of human civilization, I might be very wrong here, but I think it is 2 lakh years or 200,000 years or something like that for man to sort of Homo sapien to sort of evolve. I might be off by a few lakh years or whatever. Okay. But yeah. So if you look at this journey of man, do you think there is something special about today's time? Yes, you'll have to agree aeroplanes are flying and all that is happening and nuclear bombs are exploding. So science and technology, this is the age, right?
Yeah.
You'll have to agree that we are living in special times.
Correct.
But even more than the exploding bombs and the flying planes, today something like the internet is also a technology which is very remarkable.
Correct.
It has brought us really close to telepathy, and communication has also reached somewhere, right? And even within communication, there are the art and science of it. You have to look at the two sides of it.
Correct.
And one side is crippled without the other. So today, probably with the production approach, the problem that has happened is that the distance between these two, there is a wall that has been created between the two.
Okay.
Between the art and science sides of anything. So I'm saying that our interpretation of subjects might be wrong. We are looking at it as arts versus science, whereas everyone agrees, I'm sure you agree, being the designer that you are, that every art has a science in it, and
every science is an art
in it.
Yeah,
absolutely. So the problem is the disconnect between the two. That is where this book I would love to recommend, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, by Robert M. Pirsig, which is of course a very popular philosophy book. Whatever people, he goes really deep into this divide between the classical and the oriental. But what he's meaning is the art and the science aspects of anything. And these two communities, are they able to talk to each other? They've classically had problems, and there are many dimensions to it. But if you look at Noam Chomsky's work, in our time, okay, Kedar, so let's say, what do you think the story of humanity has been? A story of a number of different points where things have turned, where everything has changed, where everything is completely different from how it used to be earlier in human history. If we look at it from the point of view of human history, since we are humans, let's look at it from the point of human history only. So what do you think have been the biggest points where change has happened? Change has always happened, but you will agree that it is not constant.
Correct.
Sometimes things are the same for a long time, then suddenly, there's this window where things change faster. So what do you think are the critical places or events in time where change has happened? On which humanity has turned, civilizations have turned, or whatever, society.
Yeah, I think as far as back as I can go, obviously Buddha, with the Enlightenment movement, some things change.
Right. The spread of Buddhism is one of the biggest events of history. I agree with you.
Then obviously the World War II was kind of a significant event.
A significant event, but I'm asking you about change in history.
So things have changed since then, because definitely not at a...
And what is the big theme of the change since the 1950s till 2010?
Industrial Revolution, right?
I think for that we will have to go further back.
Okay.
For Industrial Revolution, your answer is right. Industrial Revolution is one of the biggest points, which happened, let's say, 300 years ago.
Okay.
Or more, you want?
No, slightly less, I think.
Less.
Yeah, maybe.
250, let's say. Whatever. Whatever. 250 years for Industrial Revolution. But last 50 years have been the age of the
internet. Computers, yeah.
And last 10 years have been the age of the
internet.
So there's this really interesting film which I'm borrowing this from. Everything I'm saying is borrowed. None of this stuff is my original. There's this film everyone should watch by Richard Linklater called Waking Life, where this character talks about it. And it's well known. It's a very well known concept, that of telescoping evolution. Now, before the Industrial Revolution, how many years do you have to go, Kedar? That is your test today. Let's see. Which is the event that happened before that? Now this is easy. Industrial Revolution, computers and internet. Before that, what?
I think we'll cut down this pause because I have to think for one moment.
No, let me take it from here. Let me
Yeah.
take it from here.
Yeah.
See, before the Industrial Revolution is
Was
really
it
tricky.
related to Aristotle, Plato?
You can call it the age of the Enlightenment and birth of the Industrial Revolution also, sort of, but it's related to Industrial Revolution only. For this point, I can give you a hint, Kedar. Don't get disheartened. Okay, if I'm asking you a question, I'm a teacher, professionally.
Yeah.
So you don't have to answer, but you don't have to feel like I'm your teacher in school and you have to answer. You can ask me for a hint.
Yeah,
Okay,
can you
Kedar?
give me a hint?
Yeah, your hint is that you have to go back 10,000 years for the next change. Till then, the human society was totally flat. Everything was the same. America, every house in America had a cow 150 years ago or 200 years ago. You can quote me on this. Okay, don't quote me on this. No, it's true. So, life was flat for 10,000 years. What do you think happened before 10,000 years?
I don't know how, like what the Mohenjo-daro and
See, there are
Harappa
debates,
civilization-
but yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, so they started settling down. The point was agriculture, mastering the technology of agriculture. So at every point of change, whether it is fire or wheel or the entire history of human civilization is actually the history of technology. And that's what they're not teaching in history. They're teaching you Akbar and Babur in which date he is coming to Haldi Ghati. But why he's coming, what trend is this part of, is what really good history teachers are supposed to do. And these are the people who definitely shape the future. And that is the job of education, to create aware people. But tell me one thing, Kedar, what are the things that you were rewarded in your school for? What kind of behavior were students praised for in your school?
I think getting
High
good
marks.
marks. Yeah, getting good
After
marks.
getting good marks?
Handwriting.
Handwriting, okay. Any other things people are praised for in your school?
I think if
In terms of behavior?
Yeah, behavior and more likely to be more proactive or slightly come up with
Leaders.
one-liners or like...
All right, humorous people, funny people, leaders.
Yeah.
And then there are other people also. Obedient children.
Yeah.
There is this category. Were you an obedient child, Kedar? I want to ask.
Not really.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I was not one also. But I tried to act like one sometimes if I needed things to go my way.
Yeah.
So obedient child is always encouraged. Were you ever encouraged when you asked questions, Kedar? In the school?
For me in particular, it was slightly different, but I know the general trend.
Yes,
so
yes.
it has
So you
never
got
been-
some good teachers in your school?
Yeah. Fortunately, maybe.
Ah.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying my teachers were bad, Kedar.
Maybe I
Honestly-
was not asking really radical questions also.
Okay.
I mean, I can
Okay.
see, I remember few children asking really radical questions and they
and
were
when,
like,
and then what's the reaction of the teacher?
yeah, either you were thrown out of the class or...
Yeah, you're not encouraged at all. I mean, you're shouted at or
Yeah.
you're told to shut up
Yeah.
and stick to the syllabus.
Hmm.
So one thing is very clear. Noam Chomsky says this very clear, that this is not happening accidentally. This is not happening by chance, that students are being rewarded or punished in the manner that they are. This is purely an outcrop of the industrial society. This does not happen even in the villages that still live like we used to 10,000 years ago. I hope our listeners are aware that we have to step outside Delhi just 50 kilometers from where we are recording. I think less than that. To go to a village which might still be living a very much agricultural lifestyle.
Yeah. Maybe without electricity also.
It is possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it must be the case. Yeah. But anyway, so the point is that this is very much an industrial phenomena, your organized formal education system. And I'm sorry to say this, but my leftist will come out right now. So should I go all political on this?
Yes, please.
Huh?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's very funny that people talk about left versus right. Now, all the listeners should be aware that Kedar, I think, is not with leftists.
No, yeah.
And maybe does not like them.
I am a centralist right now.
Yeah, so he's a very cheerful person and he's very friendly with everyone. So imagining him disliking someone is tough.
Hmm.
So that's why I'm asking him. He has this broad smile on his face.
Yeah. No, I am inclined towards. I keep swinging between the center.
That's
the
what I
leftist
understand.
And the rightist. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I understand. So I have a leftist view on education. I must admit, although I'm not leftist, but my view on education is leftist, and that is that education is a too important a subject to be screwed around with. Okay, and no matter how capitalistic you are, if you let your education system run to so-called capitalism, your destruction is, I mean, these are big words, let's not use them anyway. But as a leftist, what I want to ask you is, in India, everyone talks about politics, right?
Yeah.
And not just in India, even abroad they're talking about Modi, right? And Modi is a big guy, not just in India, but on the world stage maybe.
Correct.
Maybe. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So Modi, at least the Indian community, or there are people looking at Modi, right? And what was I talking about?
About the political view of
The
a leftist on
the leftist view.
education
So
system.
Modi is famous. Now you tell me, why is Modi so famous before becoming the Prime Minister of India? What is Modi's achievement? It is the Gujarat model.
Gujarat, yeah.
It is the Gujarat model of development. So
Yeah.
I asked my students to compare, to first of all find out what is the Gujarat model of development. So Kedar, this is where we come to our second very important moment today. We said humanities, there is a hidden problem. Actually, all the successful people are humanities. Okay, let me not make such sweeping generalizations. But a lot of successful people are turning out to have very strong humanities orientation. Okay. That thing is people are realizing very quickly in the age of science and technology. That is one dichotomy or duality that is there already.
Correct.
But on the other hand, when I asked my students that one problem with them is, I told them, is their failure with respect to history. They have spent their lives trying to remember 1524 as when somebody came to Haldi Ghati. They don't know why this person has come to Haldi Ghati, what happened, what pattern was this part of, whatever. Nobody has ever talked to them. History is a subject that has to study change. History is the study of
how things have changed.
How things have changed.
Yeah.
Why they have changed. If for 10,000 years nothing changed, history is not really very excited,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
It is just noting that nothing is changing. Now, with respect to education, so I asked my students, I told them that the problem with everything is that they are debating things, but they're not going deep into things, and that is called philosophy. So that is the second most important part of our discussion today.
Brilliant.
That philosophy is missing from our education system. As a matter of fact, people have a ridiculous image of philosophy, and philosophers stand accused of not being able to communicate with other sections of the society and tell them what they're working on. Because nobody understands. I studied mathematics in my graduation, but I have told you this myself, so you can't ask me maths questions. I'm not good at it because I studied... okay, let's talk about that later. But through mathematics, I learned that philosophy has a lot in common with mathematics, actually. And philosophy is the first subject of inquiry. The common thread of reasoning that runs through every subject.
Correct.
Where you have to examine it critically.
Yeah.
And critically examining something is a talent that we are losing, maybe because of with the Guru-shishya parampara or because of it. But we are losing it. Okay. And people are totally... So I asked them, first of all, you find out what is this Gujarat model. Okay. So it was a very weird discussion because it was politically charged. People were in support of Modi already or against him. We don't have philosophers coming out of our schools and colleges. Sorry.
But that has been the overall problem in India also, right? People are, when they slightly deep dive into the subject, they tend to...
No, I'll prove it right now. So here is the political angle. Let's just finish that off and then we'll come back to the academic angle. Now, Gujarat is basically lagging on probably every parameter.
Okay.
There is practically nothing that Gujarat has to show for. There are numbers that can be talked about.
Hmm.
There are things that Gujarat stands on its own merits. It has its own strengths.
Hmm.
And it has been a strong state for a long time.
Hmm.
But the Modi model of governance in Gujarat, it is crazy.
Hmm.
So I never taught my students in class that Gujarat model is wrong.
Hmm.
I asked them to come in the WhatsApp group and have a discussion.
Hmm.
But I made sure that they have to go philosophically.
Hmm.
So I taught them little bit of philosophical inquiry in a 3-hour theory session, first of all.
Hmm.
That's one of my first classes.
Hmm.
So I taught them, I don't know philosophy, but I taught them what I know
Hmm.
of inquiry
Hmm.
and how that is missing from every subject right now when you come with the production approach.
Hmm.
So now you, Kedar, I'm going to have fun with you today, okay?
Hmm.
Just like I have with my students, so please don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
So you're going to be subjected to a tough exam today.
Hmm.
You got a teacher in your studio, you're going to get it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward.
Okay, so your next question is, which state in India has the best model of development?
Oh God.
According to you. I'm not saying you give me an official answer. I mean,
Can you give me a hint?
Okay, I can give you a hint. This state has been famous since 1960s. A lot of people say that it has got its prosperity because of people who have gone outside India and worked. But it is also, some people say, it is also true that because they had such high levels of education, their people went abroad. And even in the 1960s, I think Kedar got the answer and a lot of listeners also got the answer.
Yeah, Kerala or Tamil
Yeah,
Nadu?
it's Kerala.
Yeah.
So Kerala, what is going on?
Hmm.
Since 1960, America is wondering, how come Kerala has a higher life expectancy or a comparable life expectancy than many OECD countries, while its per capita income is 11th in India? The problem with Kerala is that it is great on many indexes. And I'm not justifying leftists or communists or how they work in Kerala. But another place is West Bengal, which is doing well in education. What kind of government have they got?
Yeah.
Leftist, which has destroyed Bengal also.
Hmm.
But in terms of education, I'm again emphasizing that the leftist view is that society owns education and there needs to be transparency. And is there any other state in India, by the way, that you think is doing well in education these days? There is one state that is whose minister got the Best Education Minister of India award.
No, sorry, don't know.
So I'm sorry, I'm owning this on on Audio Gyan. Yeah, so I can't be... nothing. So I voted for AAP and I'm happy with them in some aspects and I'm not happy with them in some aspects. But what I'm happy with them is that their minister got the Best Education Minister award.
Okay.
All right. And these guys have done some great work, yaar. So once again, it is Kerala, West Bengal, Delhi, all so-called leftists, which has become a word that people think is a gali today in India. That is propaganda PR clearly. I don't agree with leftists, but education society has to own, regulate and make transparent. Not the Indira Gandhi model where everything is opaque and the government is running it. You need complete transparency, you need measurability.
But yeah, I think then what I can conclude with this part would always would be that there is yin and yang for everything, right? So maybe the yin is the downfall of certain social structure, but the yang would be a more educated society.
I think we should come back to this question and go deeper into how this works. But today let's sum it up with what Noam Chomsky says. Where he says that if you want to look at education, you have to separate. We are living at a very special point of time in history. These 100 years are different from the last 2 lakh years in a way that it has never happened before. You have to go back 10,000 years from Industrial Revolution. So Chomsky says that in the last 100 years or 150 years, your formal system of education is very good for turning somebody into a dutiful, obedient worker. That is why the obedient child gets a lot of praise and good marks. Even if you don't get good marks, but you are an obedient child, you will be praised. But why are you not praised for asking questions? Is humanity moving on without people asking questions? No. But that has sort of the elite have tried to make it their preserve. And that's where I agree with the leftist philosophy, that if 0.1% of the world is going to be in control, ultimately your education system cannot be a happy one. I am really sorry, but again I'll have to be a little provocative and a little controversial. But Kedar, do you have help working for you at home?
Yes.
Do you have any kind of help that comes?
Yeah, sure.
So for most people in the US, it's a luxury, right?
Yeah.
Hiring some help. But I have help coming at my home. And her salary is not a very significant percentage of your income, right? Now, do you want her to be obedient?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and if we look at...
we can have this her or him, like just to be...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to my house, Durga comes and we have a good relationship actually. I think she thinks I'm not a bad employer because I give her days off and all that and try and stick to labor laws. Not exactly. At least in terms of minimum wage, I can be arrested right now. But I think every second Indian would be in jail then. Right. But that is the same for the 0.1%. That is how they look at us, but on an even bigger magnitude. You want your maid to be obedient. You want her to know a few things, which she does repetitively every day, very well for you, and gets paid a certain thing, and you make a big noise about paying her, but you go and spend twice that amount on eating out. That is how the 0.1% sees Kedar, you and me, and our education.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah,
so we have to, come to the political aspect of it. The academic aspect, I'm afraid we have not been able to go into a lot of detail today.
Yeah.
There are a lot of interesting questions, but I hope we'll be able to catch up again sometime and maybe involve some other people as well who have unique insights into this question and who are doing some great stuff.
Yeah, certainly. I think this is a good note to end this. We will, obviously there are a lot more things, and the whole agenda of having this audio gyan is, I think, to a certain extent successful, because there was no real particular prescription which I wanted in this conversation.
Prescription I will never be able to give, which is where I have to give closing comments in the name of Henry Mintzberg. So a lot of other work that I have copied from in today's discussion and a lot of ideas are from a management professor called Henry Mintzberg. Everyone should read. The rest of it I frankly couldn't get inspired, but what you said reminded me of him exactly. He refuses to give prescriptions.
Okay.
And he says that my only work is description, and then we can come to an agreement. So let's try and come to an agreement, but we'll have to open the thing up before we do.
No, I think we'll just conclude at this point. Obviously, there are a lot of more things to be discussed, and as I was mentioning about not having a prescribed or a suggested way of going, but this conversation probably will open a lot of more questions for the viewers, for the listeners. So thank you, Vikram, for giving us your time, and it was pleasure talking to you.
Hey, this was fun. Let's do this again sometime soon, man.
Sure.
Bye.
So that's it from today's Gyan session with Vikram Gahlot. Stay tuned for more Gyan on Audio Gyan next week. Till then, bye.